We would like to start by acknowledging that the land on which we live and work is the traditional territory of the Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe peoples, whose presence here continues to this day. Aurora is part of the treaty lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Williams Treaties First Nations. We acknowledge and thank them for sharing this land with us. A shared understanding of how the rich cultural heritage that has existed for centuries and of how our collective past brought us to where we are today will help us walk together into a better future. Council, can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Councillor Humphreys, Councillor Gilliland, any comments or questions? Councillor Gallo? Oh, full session? Is that what you're going to ask? But go ahead, sorry.
No, actually, I just, I wanted to, if we could add some public service announcements at the end. I have two quick ones that are time sensitive.
As long as we're not running, over time, I don't have an issue with that. I'll allow that. That's fine.
Thanks. That was it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor, if you can just remind me when we get closer to the end, just in case, because if we're going through things and it might scale. I've written it down, but just in case. Okay, thank you. Mr. Clerk, can we do closed session at the end?
That's through you, Mr. Mayor. That is what I was going to suggest.
Okay. I apologize, everyone. I moved quickly into the council meeting instead of reporting out of closed session, but we'll take care of that at the end, so that's fine. Okay. I'll call the vote.
Record vote for the approval of the agenda on this evening's agenda. Councillor Gaertner is absent. Mayor Maracas, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Kim also absent. Councillor Gallo?
Yeah.
Councillor Humphreys?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson? And Councillor Gilliland?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. We have no community presentations. We have two delegations. First up is Mr. Steve Arms, resident, regarding item 9.1. Mr. Arms.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. How are you, sir?
Good. You have 5 minutes and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Let me just, if I may, quickly move a few files around here. Mr. Mayor, members of council, town staff, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Steve Arms, and along with my wife, Rebecca Murdoch, we are the owner-occupants of 78 Centre Street. We represent a group of neighbors on Centre Street and Catherine Avenue who are concerned with the redevelopment of this property. Now, as you all know, we're not opposing the redevelopment of this property. That needs to happen and has unanimous support of all the neighbors and community. Our concerns are and have always been related to the appropriateness and suitability of any developer's proposals, given that this is a heritage area and as such has specific needs and requirements as far as design, building size, density, and preservation of the heritage aspects of this neighborhood. Now, before I begin, I would like to recognize that the applicant seems to have taken a few steps towards plans that are starting to approach a more acceptable proposal. But there are still significant issues that need to be addressed, including traffic concerns, the overall size of the building, the significantly reduced depth of the veranda, as well as the awkward single-car garage that's actually built into the side of the house. Now, this proposal before you, which was filed with the town on December 8th, was emailed to the neighbors 6 days later, on December 14th, without prior consultation or review. As had been suggested by HAC, COA, and Council, we'd hoped that there would be discussions with the neighbors before any further plans were submitted, but that was not the case. We were, however, pleasantly surprised to see that a few of the concerns that we had previously raised were being addressed. That being said, I would like to focus tonight on two key elements of this proposal that are still major issues: heritage vegetation and drainage. Now, from the beginning of this process, as with all previous applications, our concerns have always related to the suitability of a proposal in the heritage area, but especially with regard to preserving the look and feel of the Northeast Heritage Area. This is reflected in appropriate designs, large yards, green spaces, preserving existing heritage trees, and addressing one of the key challenges in our area, drainage. Now, I'd like to note that town staff in its report to HAC state that the existing large trees on the lot were not going to be affected by this plan. Respectfully, I must disagree and would like to address this via the following slides. Mr. Mayor, may I share a screen?
Sure.
Thank you. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yep.
So I'm going to be relying on the Aurora Parks and Recreation Services Tree Protection and Preservation Policy dated June 2015. So this policy has been in place for almost 7 years now. When we look at the specific property that we're dealing with here, there are two major trees that are most concerned. There's a birch tree out here on the front that everyone agrees can easily be removed. But these two trees here are of significant concern and need to be dealt with under the existing policy. Now that policy, which is based upon the International Society of Arboricultural Standards, it's not just something thought up by the town, shows the protection distance in meters from the trunk. The two trees in question are in excess of 600 millimeters each, so they would require a minimum of a 4.5 meter protection zone from the trunk. That protection zone, by the way, means no grading or excavation shall be allowed in that area. Now, I can speak personally to that because when we bought our house almost 7 years ago, we were interested in putting in a properly paved driveway. But we're informed by the town we couldn't do that because even digging down 1 foot to be able to grade and compact to be able to have asphalt would affect the roots of the pine tree in question. All right. It also is very curious that if you remember at our last council meeting, Councillor Gilliland made the point that with heritage trees, the town has been very concerned with them and in fact has even denied sidewalks because digging down that 1 to 1.5 feet. Here we're talking about a much deeper excavation. If I start at the back tree here, we're approximately 1 meter away where this paved driveway is going to be and approximately 2.5 to an excavated 2-car detached garage along with asphalt paving here. All of those things totally go against what we've been told before as far as preservation of the tree. If I go forward to the pine tree, and this is the most obvious one, there's significant issues here. The applicant is proposing only a 1.5 meter, 1/3 of the town's policy and an international standard to be excavating for his foundation there. For those of you who haven't been out to see the tree, and for folks at home, this is a more than 50-foot high pine tree. It's in excellent health, and it sits exactly on the property line. I know this because I had to pay for a second survey back in 2018, which was done by Mr. Aziz Abdelrashid, and Mr. Abdelrashid staked it out for me to put this privacy fence in. It runs directly through that tree. Okay? If we look at that tree, and this was taken obviously before last Monday, 1.5 meters is only about here. It doesn't even clear the crown of the tree. Allowing an excavation of a minimum 9 to 10 foot basement there will kill this tree. In fact, if we do an excavation at both spots and we take out the birch, we've clean cut the entire property. There will not be a single piece of heritage vegetation on there. Okay, whoops, sorry.
Mr. Arms, you're at time. If you could wrap it up.
Certainly. There's simply not sufficient space, given water drainage issues and other issues on this area. To quote you, Mr. Mayor, heritage trumps planning. It specifically states in our heritage plan the policies and guidelines included in the heritage plan, which further refine standards established in the zoning bylaw to ensure compatibility with the heritage district context, not may, but shall prevail under the authority under the Ontario Heritage Act. We believe that while this proposal may be a step in the right direction, there are still too many shortcomings and issues around preserving heritage. Our heritage deserves everyone's best effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arms. Council, can I get a motion to receive and refer before I ask for any questions or comment? Councillor Humphreys, Councillor Gilliland, Councillor Humphreys, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to thank Mr. Arms this evening for delegating. Very articulate. You've done a lot of your homework. I want to thank you very much for representing your neighbors and some of the concerns. And I think we all share those. Well, I share them. I also am very pleased that staff is listening to this because from a heritage perspective, there was an opinion provided, but there are tree protection guidelines and then heritage from a whole as well should be considered when this goes goes to next step should it pass this evening. And I know that there's lots of steps to this. This is just the beginning. Site survey plans need to be developed and approved through staff, through those guidelines. And I know that our staff takes our policies seriously. So I believe if this does move forward, the right things will be done. So thank you very much for your delegation this evening. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Councillor.
Councillor Gallo?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just a quick question about the tree on the east side. So if I heard correctly, it's your opinion that it's on the lot line. I'll be asking staff later, but I just wanted to hear from you. Is it, because it's confusing to me because I watched the hack. The architect for the applicant says it's on their property and they have every right to even cut it down. But do you know, because I couldn't see it in the report, what staff's perspective is? Because there's also some doubt in terms of survey, where the survey is.
Was that to me, Mr. Gallo?
Yes.
Thank you. Through the chair, Councillor Gallo. Yes, the proper survey dated 2018, done by Mr. Aziz Abdelrashid, after we had a conflict with the applicant, shows that the tree has actually been planted exactly on the property line. It sits at about, if we had to give estimates, at about 60-40. As far as where it starts to kind of bump is a little bit more on the applicant's side, but it is exactly down the middle. It was staked out and spotted by the surveyor at the time that they did the survey back in 2018. Documents are on file with the town. The applicant also has a copy of the same document. So respectfully, the pegs are there, have been easily sourced by the surveyor, and now here we are in 2022. I put that fence up immediately after the survey. If there had been an issue, one would expect that the applicant might have asked me to have it rechecked, come with an issue of conflict with it before. But clearly, when that tree was planted approximately 55 years ago by the Timbers family, the first generation of Timbers who lived there, it was done as a property line demarcation and still serves that purpose today.
Councillor?
That was it. I just wanted to hear that side. I'll ask staff when we get to the agenda item what their perspective is. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, Mr. Arms, thank you very much for coming this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Clerk, call the vote.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recorded vote for receiving and referring Delegation A to the report on this evening's agenda. Councillor Humphreys, how do you vote?
Yes.
You, Councillor Kim?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Councillor Gaertner?
Sorry, yes.
Thank you. Councillor Gallo?
Yes.
You, Councillor Gilliland?
Yes.
And Mayor Maracus?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Next up, we have a delegation by David Eqbal, architect, in regards to the same item, 9.1. David, are you there? Hi, David. Just remind you, 5 minutes. Floor is yours. Oh, can't hear you, David.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Do I have the floor?
Yes, you do. Go ahead. Floor is yours.
Yes, good evening, and thank you for giving us this opportunity to represent this revised drawing for 74 Center Street. My name is David Eqbal, and I'm the architect for this project. As you may recall, you asked us to go back and do some searching and revise the drawing and remove the concerns that exist. I have prepared a few slides for presentation, if I may share them.
Absolutely.
So we did a lot of thinking, and I'm glad to say that we managed to remove most of the concerns. As you recall, we were told that this building is quite massive. So we reduced the building size in various ways. What we did for front for coverage, we actually reduced it to 30.43%. The maximum coverage allowed by zoning bylaw is 34%. As for GFA of the building, we substantially reduced it. It's now about 3,000 square feet or 284.47 square meters, close to 3,433, sorry, 3,043 square feet, which is quite less than typical single family detached dwelling that's being built in across the town. Typically, the sizes now are 4,000, 5,000 square feet, and this is quite less. So, and then in terms of height of the building, the zoning bylaw allows 10 meters. We have reduced it to 7.64 meters, which is indication that how much we did to reduce everything in terms of size. And so I just want to present these numbers so you can see it for yourself that we actually reduce it. It's not a massive building like it's been described. Not at all. It's less, there is less square footage in this building or coverage than typical single family home that's being built around the town. As for the layout, we had concerns about the parking. So we went back to heritage guidelines for this area, which suggests that we should have a side driveway and a detached garage. And also we eliminated all the surface parking in the back, and we kind of matched the design exactly what the guideline says. And as you can see, we have now 3 indoor parking. We have 2 in the back, 1 to the side of the building, and matching exactly what the guideline says. In terms of concerns about the walkout basement, we totally removed it. So the basement now belongs to the first unit in the building, which is located at the first floor, connected to the basement through a staircase going down. On the second floor, we have 2 units, which the floor plans shows exactly how the layout is. In terms of design, we also went to the meeting for Heritage Advisory Committee. Everyone agreed that we actually did, and this building actually confirms to heritage guidelines as they were expecting. So this is
David, I think you're frozen. I think we lost David.
I did hear Mr. Arms argue about the trees. And the trees, we did talk to the arborist. And in this situation where you want to preserve a tree, which we want and the client wants, and they don't want to damage the tree, there are options which you do hand digging for the roots during construction and kind of manage the roots where it's too close to the construction area. So in these cases, there is options and there are professionals who can form an opinion how exactly should be done. And we have consulted them and they said it's feasible and it's possible to maintain the trees. And in terms of surface, I mean, the drainage and site servicing, all of those things going to be done later on later on when we go for building permit. We have to do site grading and servicing for this project. So it will be done by professionals and making sure that all the guidelines are actually followed.
Mr. Eqbal, if I could just get you to wrap up, you're at 5 minutes.
Sure, I'm here if you have any questions. Thank you very much. And I just hope that you see how much we have done to address all the concerns. I don't see anything remaining, actually.
Thank you very much. Council, can I first get a motion to receive and refer to item 9.1? Councillor Kim, Councillor Humphreys, any comments or questions for the delegate? Councillor Gallo?
Mr. Mayor, through you to David, just the same question I asked in terms of the site survey. Could you just speak to where that tree lies in your opinion? And again, I'll be asking staff once the agenda item comes up.
Mr. Eqbal?
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I can share the survey drawing that we have, it actually shows the tree completely in our property line or on 74 Center Street. And as you can see, the tree that Mr. Arms is talking about is basically this tree, which is quite a bit inside the property line, actually. If Mr. Arms built the fence on this property, then he has made a mistake, and he should maybe address that later on. But the tree that we are talking about is this one, and that is the property line.
Councillor?
And you can see the trunk is quite a bit inside the property line.
Councillor?
I'll ask staff their opinion once we get into the agenda item. That was my only question.
Okay, thank you.
Or just to, you know what, it's okay, I'll ask staff. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Gilliland?
Thank you. A couple quick questions. And perhaps maybe you touched on this previously, I just don't recall. Because this tree happens to be something that's in question right now where the property line lines up with that, is there a reason why your plan couldn't be flipped the other way so you're not facing this issue with this heritage tree, or do you face the same kind of challenges with trees lining on the other side?
Mr. Eqbal?
Through you, Mr. Chair, typically when there is dispute about the survey, Mr. Arm, such as Mr. Arm is doing, he should hire a survey, a professional surveyor, Ontario surveyor, to do a survey, and then they can actually find out whether this property is in this property or in his property. So basically, he hasn't done that. He should go and hire a professional, because this client for 74 Center Street have done it, and the survey shows it to be on this property. But if Mr. Arm has any issues with that, he can hire a professional surveyor and then do a survey. And then if there is any conflict, the surveyors can resolve it by talking to each other.
Councillor?
Thank you. I appreciate your comments and that sentiment, and I understand that dispute. My question was, is there a reason why you didn't flip the existing plan that you have, just the exact same but mirror the other way?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, we actually had the driveway on that side in one of the designs. We were told that because the existing driveway is on the where we are showing right now, we should maintain that just to avoid any more disruption.
Councillor.
Okay, I guess the gentleman's frozen now, but I guess the only comment I wanted to make, I guess in response to what he was saying about keeping the driveway where it is, I think many developments have had properties where the home's torn down and the driveway is with no consideration as to keeping it exactly where it was. You start with a clean slate and you design the way you think that's the most appropriate for the property. So I just, that's, I guess, a difference of opinion, but I thought maybe this would be a lot easier considering I believe the delegate had just said prior that he had paid for his own survey in 2018. So I'm just getting some conflicting information as to what's being provided and not being provided. So this is simply a question as to if we can just try and, work together. And if it did work where it was flipped the other way and this solved that problem, then, is that something that would be easy to do or something worth looking at?
Mr. Eqbal.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Definitely, they have been very cooperative in every aspect of this project, going back and forth, resolving things. We are really happy to work with Mr. Arms if he provides his survey, and then we can connect the two surveyors and they can discuss it. But we really try to address many different comments received from different committees, and that's why we are showing the driveway on the other side, really.
Councillor.
Thank you. I didn't catch the why you showed the driveway on the other side, if that's reflective to some comments from committees. I have read the report and I am very pleased with a lot of the changes that, yes, you have made. And, if we didn't put you through this process, we wouldn't have gotten here today. So I really do appreciate all the hard work that you guys have done to try and communicate and make those changes. I'm just trying to fine tune a little bit of it now just to kind of understand just this based on the information that's being presented to me today. From what I understand, the delegate previous does have a 2018 survey who claims that you do have it in your possession. So perhaps there's some more collaborating to do on that. I just want everybody to kind of get along and I want you to have something that you're going to build that's going to give us some additional housing. And obviously, they want you to do that too, but they also want it to be done in a way that I guess is going to conform. And also they're concerned about the heritage tree and drainage. So if there's something that can be done to reverse it, I will be asking staff about that tree further, just based on the whole driveway conversation that was held about. If I couldn't put a driveway there, how can someone build a house and that could be okay with that tree? So there is some conflicting information that I do have to sort out with staff. But from what I'm hearing, you would be open to flipping that design the opposite way, the exact same design, if it would salvage that tree and be able to solve that problem.
Mr. Eqbal.
Through you, Mr. Chair, definitely. In fact, what we are the way we have designed it and the way we push the driveway and what we are showing, we try to avoid any traffic noise for Mr. Arms, the neighbor. We try to be very helpful in the design to be, kind to our neighbors and just drive the traffic to the other side because that way Mr. Arm would not be upset about the noise of traveling cars going to the garage. But we are open and we are not removing the tree. As I said, we're going to do our maximum effort to keep the tree by doing hand digging. And I just want to say that if there is any other development like a single family house, there's going to be the same dilemma. It's not about this triplex, which is quite small in footprint. If you have any other development, you still are going to have the same problem with the trees. But we are doing our maximum effort to really do something good here.
Councillor?
Thank you. And, I do appreciate it, and I do appreciate the reduction in size, and, definitely you're below the 35%, which is great. You just happen to be in a heritage area, and of course, building in this area does, open up other considerations, and this tree does happen to fall in that. So this is why we're having this deeper conversation. So hopefully you can talk to your neighbor about flipping it. From conversations I've had with the neighbors there, they're okay to having it flipped. I appreciate that you are also being mindful with the traffic, so maybe there's some more discussion. Just one last question before I turn over my colleagues. I see you did have a plan there showing the first floor and second floor. I didn't quite understand how it would work getting into the third garage in the side of the house. I didn't understand how any clearance to turn or how that would look. You can explain that. In addition, there's something in the report here that says you've made some changes to your basement design, and I just didn't see that in our report. And so I didn't know if you had that as well that you could show us.
Mr. Eqbal?
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I may share my screen again, I'll show how we actually address the garage. Basically, the third garage is located right inside the building. If I go to this, and you can see the garage door right here. So you would have to do a 90-degree turn to get inside the garage. And on the 90-degree turn, typically Town of Aurora has a requirement for 7 meters, aisle. And this over here, we have actually provided more than 7 meters. So you can see that this area is created. It's like 7.36 meters that you have space for a car to make a turn and get inside the garage. And this is really, this was something that we did to eliminate the parking on the surface and provide the 3 required zoning requirement for the parking inside. And that is the garage that we are talking about.
Okay. Councillor?
Thank you. I was just trying to figure out the width of the actual garage and being able to exit it. So how wide is your garage? Is it like 30 feet wide?
Mr.
9
Eqbal?
meters?
Through you, Mr. Chair, this is the standard garage parking. So we are not actually made any, typically this one, I think, I cannot read it myself on this drawing, but it's more than 9 feet in width.
Oh.
And the length is, I'm not able to read it, but we made sure that it's a standard parking size. A standard garage for a single car.
Councillor?
Thank you. Sorry, you just had some meters and square feet in the same plan it looked like. So I was a little confused on what you were trying to communicate there. Okay, well, my only comment, and I'll talk to staff, is just whether or not it's cars are capable of actually making that turn to get in there, depending on the size of their vehicle, making that turn safely and being able to park in there and actually open a door to get in. I know there's a lot of homes these days to where the garages are so tiny, especially single cars, where people find themselves having to climb over the driver's seat to go at one side because they can't open the doors to actually exit. So I really just want to make sure that A, you can get in, and B, it makes sense that if you actually park in there, you can open a door to get out.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, Mr. Eqbal, thank you very much. I'm sure we'll be dealing with this item very shortly. Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recorded vote for receiving and referring the delegation to the report on the agenda tonight. Councillor Thompson,
Yes.
Councillor Gallo,
Yeah.
Councillor Kim,
Yes.
Councillor Gilliland,
Yes.
Councillor Gaertner,
Yes.
Councillor Humphreys,
Yes.
and Mayor Maracus.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Council, move to the consent agenda. I have 4 items. Someone like to move receipt of 7.1 to 7.4? Councillor Humphreys, Councillor Kim. Any comments, questions on any of those items? Otherwise, I'll call a vote. Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recorded vote for the items on the consent agenda tonight. Councillor Gallo, how do you vote?
Yeah.
Councillor Gilliland,
Yes.
Councillor Humphreys,
Yes.
Councillor Gaertner,
Yes.
Mayor Maracus,
Yes.
Councillor Kim,
Yes.
and Councillor Thompson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Council will move to standing committee reports. Are there any items that anyone wants pulled out of the standing committee reports? Councillor Gaertner?
Yes, could you pull 8.1.7? That's the procurement bylaw update.
Okay. I will do that. Anything else by anyone? I'm seeing nothing else. If I can get a motion to approve all items in the standing committee reports minus 8.1.7. Someone like to move that?
Mr. Mayor, 8.2.7?
I think it's supposed to be 8.1.7. I think it's a typo. Yeah. Because it's the only 2 in there and we only had 1 meeting. So therefore I think it's just a typo. So yeah, so can I get someone to move that? Councillor Thompson, second. Councillor Gilliland, thank you. Mr. Clerk, call the vote.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recorded vote for the items on the standing committee report minus the procurement report. Mr. Mayor, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Gaertner,
Yes.
Councillor Gallo,
Yes.
Councillor Kim,
Yes.
Councillor Thompson,
Yes.
Councillor Gilliland,
Yes.
and Councillor Humphreys.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mr. Clerk. Councillor Gaertner, do you have a feeling this is going to be long? Otherwise, I'm going to ask to move the other item forward. If this is just a quick kind of thing, we can do.
That's fine, Mr. No, it's it won't be as quick as that. So let's move the other item forward, other items.
Okay, well, Council, if everyone's okay with that, I'm going to move 9.1 forward. So we deal with that first. Is everyone good with that? Okay. Okay, let's have 9.1. I'm just trying to pull it up here. All right, 9.1 is the heritage permit application in regards to 74 Center Street. The recommendation is that report number PDS 22-017 be received. And 2, that the heritage permit application HPA 2020-04 be approved to permit the construction of a 2-story triplex dwelling at 74 Center Street. Would someone like to move the recommendation? Councillor Gaertner, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Thompson. Any comments or questions? Councillor Gaertner, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm having a little trouble. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Thank you. I'd like to correct something that was said by a delegate. The trees that we did not allow removal on a heritage property, those trees were designated trees. They were designated under our heritage. So And what we've learned is that trees that are on a heritage property, we learned that on Church Street, trees that are on a heritage property are not considered heritage trees. They have to receive the designation. And I don't believe the tree on this property has. The other thing is the Heritage District Plan deals with design guidelines. The zoning bylaw deals with what is allowed to be built. So this threeplex is allowed by right according to the zoning bylaw. We can't get these two things mixed up. And in fact, the zoning bylaw, because we know design guidelines don't trump anything, the zoning bylaw is the applicable law in all cases. So we're considering an application for a heritage permit. Heritage permit in a new construction in the Heritage District. From our report, the proposed building is a single detached 2-story dwelling in the homestead architectural style that fits in with the historical streetscape of Center Street. The proposed rear detached garage will provide sufficient parking and will not have any adverse impact on the streetscape or the rear amenity space. The design is in keeping with the guidelines for the Old Aurora Heritage Conservation District. That is what we are looking at tonight. That is what we are considering. That is what is in our staff report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Gallo.
Thank you. A couple of questions, but before that, I just wanted to note that at our July council meeting, the resolution that we passed was that council consent to a 90-day extension of the heritage permit application, and 2, that report number PDS 21-084 be deferred to the next general committee meeting in 2021. Yet this came straight to council. I just want to note that, you know, the recommendation of council in July was for it to come to a GC and not straight to council. I'm going to assume there was some timing issues that 90-day, and that's why I have no issues with dealing with tonight, unless members of the public had an issue, which I didn't hear of. But just to know, unless someone will correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, can I just sorry, Councillor, I just want to make sure I'm understanding. Are you talking about why it's here tonight at council instead of going to GC?
Yes.
Okay, so the last time we dealt with this was in November.
And
so we would have to look at that resolution from November.
Okay.
I don't have it in front of me, but you referenced the one from July. That's not the last time we dealt with it. The last time we dealt with this was in November. I can get it for you. It's just so we can get that, so we can have an understanding of what we ask staff as far as direction in a resolution. I can get that for you, no problem. Oh, it just popped up on my screen. So I'll let the resolution was that report number PDS 21-105B referred back to staff, and 2, that council consents to a further 60-day extension from HPA 2020-04 from December 13th, 2021. So it doesn't speak to when it needs to come back. That was in no direction on the last one.
Okay. And I assumed it was a timing issue. Otherwise, it probably would have been to come to GC.
Yes, that's my understanding too, Council. Yeah.
So through you to whichever staff, I'm not sure, just to deal with this survey issue and have a perspective from staff. It wasn't in the report, but I'd love to hear from them, specifically about the tree and where it's located.
This house.
Hi, good evening, and thank you, and thanks for the comments today. I am going to ask Prashante, our heritage planner, to address the questions on this, and there we go. She is with us tonight, so I'll lead it over.
Okay, thank you, Ms. House. Shante?
Thank you, Lisa. And through you, Mr. Chair. The submission of a heritage permit, it's not a requirement that applicants or owners submit a survey. Through recent discussions, it was revealed that there is a conflict on where this tree is located, whether it's located on 74 Center Street or 78 Center Street. But the purpose of a heritage permit application is to really look at is to really assess built form, architectural design, and whether the proposal is compatible or sympathetic to the surrounding community as well as the conservation district as a whole. If council does consent to the heritage permit application, the next step would be applying for a site plan application. But in order to apply for a site plan application, we do require that the applicants go through a pre-consultation process with the planning division. And the purpose of a pre-consultation process is to outline site plan submission requirements. So that's when we will require the submission of a survey of any professional drawings, whether it be grading or drainage drawings that are prepared by a professional engineer, or an arborist report or a tree preservation plan that's prepared by a certified arborist. And then at that point, that's when we'll really take a deep dive into the respective documents to verify their validity.
Councillor?
Thank you. And that was actually going to be my next question in terms of what we're here tonight to do, and what does the tree at this point have anything to do with the decision that we need to make tonight, only to the extent that if it is in the way and staff agrees that you can't build with that tree there and there's no opportunity to remove it, then as Councillor Gilden maybe had recommended, it needs to be flipped. But any of that has nothing to do with what we're deciding here tonight. This is a heritage permit. The only reason I'm picking on the tree is because there's some heritage aspect. Otherwise, everything else they have appeared to comply with as far as a heritage permit. There's still a lot more road to go in terms of dealing with site plan and all kinds of other check boxes that need to be checked off. So I'm content, subject to whatever I hear from everyone else, if there's anything that's I haven't picked up on, to move forward with this and take it to the next level. So I'm curious to hear everyone else's opinion specifically regarding the heritage permit. We can go all night regarding parking, regarding setbacks, regarding height, regarding all that stuff that has no bearing tonight.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Humphries?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I appreciate the Councillor Galloway's comments. You're right, the focus was on the heritage, the heritage perspective of this new build. So Heritage did meet and provided their feedback, and the developer and owner did do a lot of work to try to answer all the concerns. It was hard to stay away from the concerns discussed this evening by the resident who did delegate. You can't help but look at different things, but we did meet. I met with Jante and others this afternoon, just talked a little bit about the process, and a lot more needs to be done. This is step one. And then after that, survey site plans get submitted, and further investigation is done so that the right thing is done at that build. And I just wanted to say, I know it seemed like a long process to get here and a bit of a frustrating one, but we got here, I really believe, for the right reasons, and just to make sure that we have the best build in a heritage district that we can get. We have a long way to go. I think a lot of the concerns were addressed. I think sometimes I believe Heritage would have liked to see a single dwelling or two semi, but it's a triplex, and that's up to zoning and that site surveys and things like that moving forward. But from a heritage perspective, lots was answered. Just one thing to think of, and I know it's not appropriate now because again, it's from a heritage permitting perspective. You know, with the garage in there, just snow and shoveling snow, I couldn't help but drive by and wonder how that was going to happen with the setback garage. But anyway, that's to do with the site plan later on. But just wanted to thank the residents that were concerned enough to push this to get to a point where I think it's a good starting point and lots of work to follow. Thanks. Oh, I'm sorry. One last thing, Mr. Mayor. There is that survey issue, so I hope that's going to be cleared up, because once the site plan comes, hopefully that will be addressed and clarified. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. Similar to what Councillor Gallo was asking, I just wanted to get clarification around, what exactly we're approving tonight with regards to the heritage permit application, and clarify the next steps and the details, and staff have already answered that question. So I'm satisfied and in support of the heritage application.
Thank you. Councillor Gilliland.
Thank you. I guess a lot has been said around the table. I don't need to repeat. And as I said, I do feel that they have met a lot of the heritage aspects. I completely get that. But I do think it's good that as council members that we do point out the things that are concerning, like the survey. And it does make a difference if it has been a designated tree, and maybe there's some miscommunication. But when I had conversations with the property owner, they had thought it was officially designated based on some communication they had with staff. So maybe that just needs to be ironed out, because it does make a difference when it's specifically designated as heritage. So just some unanswered questions. And I think that's really the concern, where they feel like they're not being heard. But you're right, the actual heritage aspects has been, in my opinion, also have been worked with, and that's great. So I'm glad we're getting there. But questions through you, Mr. Mayor, to Ms. House then. I just kind of wanted to talk about the width of the third in-car driveway. And I know this is heritage, but I do have a concern of how wide it shows on there. It looks like it's 9.3 feet. I would suggest, I don't know what just based on my own research, that, an average size single car driveway with walls should be at least 12 feet minimum in order to have that kind of a leeway. And are we as a town cognizant of that, or are we allowing these single car garages where people can't get out? I just think this is something that we need to ensure that isn't overlooked.
House.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor, that is it's one thing that I noticed right away when I looked at the plan, that needs to be looked at closer for access, for the side, and necessity, because there's in our bylaws, it's not a requirement that all the parking has to be a covered parking space. Can that be accommodated differently? So there's definitely aspects of the application that we'll take a look at when they've gone through pre-consult and then on to the site plan piece. Thank you for your comments.
Councillor.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I do have a question, just if the staff can address the drainage, that would be great. It sounds like there's some more work to be done, but just if you could comment on it, because it was something that delegate did have some concerns about.
Ms. House.
And through you, Mr. Mayor, those are definitely aspects that we'll be taking a look at through the site plan and through the review process as we go forward.
Thank you. Councillor.
Thank you. And other than that, I felt that the report did address a lot of the stuff in particular. I highlighted pretty much everything that was talked about, so there's no reason to repeat it. So other than that, I am satisfied. But what I have heard from the applicant as well is that they are open to flipping and working with the applicant as well, as far as finding a way to make sure that that tree is preserved. I guess the one thing that will need to be addressed about the tree in the driveway is history has said that they were not allowed to do their own asphalt driveway because of the tree. And I'm just curious as to why this is different for this applicant in this situation being presented when you're digging down for a much deeper purpose. And I just feel like there's some conflicting information. So I'm hoping that maybe you could comment on that.
House.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor, the comments have not been addressed regarding the tree and the setbacks until it does go through the site plan process.
Okay,
so
no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And, it's unfortunate that when you have development in the Heritage District, it
it often takes a long time to get it through. And, it's unfortunate that it took so long to get to this point. But as it's been mentioned previously, I'm glad that, both sides were heard, and we did seem to breach a lot of the challenges that both parties had. But I'm glad that we're getting there. Again, this heritage permit application, it's for that, and I'm certainly in support. The other items, regarding the build form and other aspects, we can certainly deal with that in the next stage. But I will be in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gaertner, second time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The fact that the applicant is willing to do the hand digging around the tree, I don't believe we've ever had anything exactly like this before, where developer is going to do hand digging to make sure the tree is safe. The other comment is about garages. Council has approved garages in Aurora where the person has to get out of the car before the passenger has to get out of the car before the driver drives in the garage. So, that is a ridiculous situation, but we approved it as a council. Going back to the Heritage District Plan, I think it's worth noting that this proposal follows the distinctive form, scale, massing, spacing requirements of S 9.1.2 in the district plan guidelines. And also, as in section 4.5.1, it follows the requirements for a new building in the Heritage District Plan. So I will be voting for this to go forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Or call a vote. I want to thank everybody, council, residents. I want to thank the applicant for their willingness to continue to find a compromise instead of pulling the rug out from underneath and going straight to the tribunal. That's what we always ask for. Is we want is applications that are going to come forward, and we're going to be building what we've envisioned through our plans, whether it's the Heritage District Plan, whether it's the official plan, and that's where we've come to now. So does it conform? Is it compatible? Now it is. Was it last time we saw it? Now it is. Now it conforms. Now it's compatible. Now it's better suited for our heritage district, and I think that we can move forward. And once again, I'm going to thank the applicant for their willingness to work with the residents and work with council and work with staff to come to that point that they can provide something that is compatible within our district plan, because our heritage is important to this town. And so, as everyone has stated, still a lot to do. We got a pre-con, we got a site plan, there's lots left to do, and everyone's right. We're dealing with a heritage permit. Ultimately, I think this is a good thing for our town. We're going to end up with hopefully more units, a triplex that will provide more units for people to live in and hopefully be affordable. And ultimately, that's a good thing for our town. So I'll call a vote.
Record vote for item 9.1 on this evening's agenda. Councillor Gaertner, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mayor Maracus?
Yes.
Councillor Kim?
Yes.
Councillor Humphries?
Yes.
Councillor Gilliland?
Yes.
Councillor Gallo?
Yes.
And Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Unanimously. Thank you very much, Mr. Clark. So council, we will go back to the item that was pulled, which was 8.1.7, which is the procurement modernization proposed new policy. The recommendation that was out of general committee, just trying to pull it up here, sorry everyone, is that the report number FIN 22-001 be received. 2, that the procurement policy in attachment 1 be approved, and 3, that the approval of non-standard procurements between 100,000 and 250,000 be delegated to the Procurement Governance Committee, and 4, that staff be directed to develop a new procurement bylaw based on this policy to be enacted at a future council meeting. Councillor Gaertner, you pulled this. Did you want to move the recommendation?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Thank you. Someone second that? Councillor Thompson, thank you. Councillor Gaertner, go ahead. Your floor is yours.
Thank you. My question is about the under bidding risk. There is a recommendation of enhancing the defensibility of bid evaluations and awards. My concern has been in the past that we have to accept the lowest bid, that we're obliged to accept the lowest bid. So Ms. Wainwright Van Kessel, can you tell me how my concern is going to be allayed by this new procurement bylaw?
Ms. Wainwright Van Kessel.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So the risk that Councillor Gaertner speaks about having to accept the lowest bid. So there's a few different factors that come into play here. One of them is ensuring that we develop the appropriate minimum standards. That goes into the scope of work for any procurement that we do, and ensuring that our standards that are in there for our specifications are acceptable. Then in this case of issuing a tender, then we should be able to get a product that is appropriate to what we need, and then we're looking for the lowest price in that case. We also have multiple different bidding options here as well. So part of it is choosing the right method. So for example, for a large construction project, we have the opportunity to do a pre-qualification and evaluate the suppliers prior to actually going to the tender, and only those that would pre-qualify would move forward. And then we also, for proposals or for consulting work, we look for an RFP, which is a request for proposal. So the price is not the only factor on this. A lot of the points are actually awarded to the actual proposal itself, and the proposal must pass the technical requirements before price is even considered. So if we have vendors that don't even make it to the end process, we don't even know if we're accepting the lowest price or not, because the lowest price may not have met our requirements. The third piece of this is also managing supplier performance. And through this new policy, it gives us the tools to be able to do that a bit better than what we have been in the past. It formalizes the process a bit more. The consultant has provided us with some protocols to follow to help ensure we can train our contract managers on how to manage suppliers in a better manner. And we also have the Procurement Governance Committee, which will be the ones that are evaluating where action maybe need to be taken if we're in a situation with poor performance of our suppliers.
Councillor.
Thank you. And we did discuss this earlier. I just wanted the public to be satisfied with the risk management and how it's going to, I mean, it's very well done. So it's really, if I could say, taking a lot more care up front in the process so we don't get into a difficult situation. I have a question which we didn't talk about through Mr. Mayor to Ms. Wainwright Van Kessel. What would we do if somebody, including the councillor, brought to the town's attention that one of the companies we're dealing with may be more appropriate not to deal with them? How would that be handled? How would that be brought to our attention, and what would we do about it? Sorry to do this before.
Ms. Wainwright Van Kessel.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So my understanding is if a member of council or someone else brought to our attention a concern about a particular supplier, then procurement would need to investigate and look at the situation and do their own independent investigation. And if there's any concerns, it would have to be brought forward to the Procurement Governance Committee to ensure any appropriate action would be taken upon. But we'd have to ensure that we have the appropriate evidence and we follow our appropriate practice and policy.
Councillor?
Well, we do have a policy on ethics, but with this, we discussed last time, but it doesn't cover this situation. So I do have a concern, so I shall forward it to you, Ms. Van Kessel, Wainwright Van Kessel. I'm not sure though, Mr. Mayor, if I should copy all council. Well, why don't I start with Ms. Wainwright Van Kessel and she can decide. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gillan?
Thank you. Just a quick follow-up and just some clarity. I know you and I, Ms. Van Kessel, through Mr. Mayor, we've talked about this a lot, and this was kind of something I brought to you probably a couple of years ago when he first came on about procurement. And my big thing was about life cycle. And although the lowest price might seem great and everything might tick a box, however, the life cycle of a product, just based on the way it's designed, might be a better investment. And wondering through the criteria that we were just speaking about with Councillor Gaertner, if it also includes that as one of the criteria or considerations that you guys would talk about.
Ms. Wainwright Van Kessel?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So yes, that is an option for the appropriate procurements. We can look at the overall total cost, and that can be a factor rather than just the actual cost of acquiring the product or service at the time.
Councillor?
Thank you. I appreciate that because I'm sure there's a reason why you might pay less for one product versus another. I think we all make those choices in our life, whether it's a car or a couch or cutlery, whatever it is. And there's a reason why, one might be, 20% more than the other. And I think that's a really good consideration. I'm sure the taxpayers would want you to make a good investment in something that's going to give us longevity. So I'm glad that we're taking that outlook. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Call the vote. Ms. Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Record a vote for the procurement report. Mayor Maracus, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Humphries?
Yes.
Councillor Gaertner?
Yes.
Councillor Gillen?
Yes.
Councillor Gallo?
Yes.
Councillor Kim?
Yes.
And Councillor Thompson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Clerk. So now we'll move to motions. So we have one from Councillor Gaertner regarding policy to notify local area residents. Councillor Gaertner, would you like to move your motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes.
Thank you. Someone like to second that? Councillor Thompson, thank you. Councillor Gaertner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I don't know if this is exactly procedure, but I'd like to make a friendly amendment to my own amendment.
Sure. What would you like? Are you just changing wording?
Yes. Well, yes, I am. So I would like it to read that staff report back to council on our current process and ensure that the following are included.
Okay. Councillor Thompson, you second that? You okay with that?
I could give an explanation, Mr. Mayor.
Sure, I'll get you guys, but I'll just see if Councillor Thompson's, you okay with that? Okay. So yeah, we'll accept that as a friendly. Just go ahead. If you want to explain why, and you can go into your comments. You have your.
I'm sure we have processes in place and policies in place now, Mr. Mayor, but I think it's be appropriate to do a review. And what I've mentioned here in this, my A, B, and C, these are concerns that we have heard the last year from public about the public planning process or the committee of adjustment process. It's all about information going out to residents, appropriate information and appropriate timing. And I would like to say to staff, we had a situation a couple of weeks ago where we had a planning application come to general committee, and it'd been a couple of years since we last looked at it, and council felt that the item should be deferred so that there would be plenty of time to notify the residents in case they wanted to come and make comments to us. So that would be a D. I won't put it into the motion, but I think staff have heard that would be one of the communication vehicles that we need to look at. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Thompson?
Thank you. And I'm glad that Councillor Gaertner made those just changes to the wording, because we do have processes in place, and obviously notifications go out through as a result of the Ontario Planning Act and so forth. But always we can look at how we're communicating with the residents and see if we can do it better. I think the timing is great. We have a new communications manager on board, Ms. Smith. And so through you to Mrs. Smith, I would just like to get her thoughts about perhaps ways that she could tackle this through her experience with other municipalities.
Ms. Smith?
Through you, Chair, to Councillor Thompson and Councillor Gaertner. Yeah, I'm absolutely very happy to work with planning and do a bit of a summary and a look at where we're at with the processes and how we can improve. So absolutely happy to look at that.
Councillor?
Through you to Ms. Smith again, in your prior roles, was there anything that was sort of innovative or approaches that maybe we could look at as well to improve the communication to residents?
Yeah, through you, Chair, to Councillor Thompson. In my prior roles, it was a bit of a different and larger municipality, and our planning department had many more applications that they were communicating. So I think it was a bit of a different scale, but I think there's definitely learnings that we can look at to bring here.
Councillor?
Great, thanks very much.
Thank you. Councillor Gaertner?
Thank you. One quick question, if we could just see what that amendment was, since I didn't really see or hear everything that Councillor Gaertner had said, that would be great.
Sure, it's up on the screen. So it's just now therefore be hereby resolved that staff report back to council on our current process and ensure that it includes the following. So that little piece there is the only thing that changed, where it says council on our current process and ensure that it includes the following. Everything else is the same.
Okay, perfect. That's what I was confused about. Question through you, Mr. Mayor, to, I guess it could be Ms. House. Our planning tools that we just released, which is brand new, although this is a great added benefit that we're going to do a review and see what we can do better. Would these new planning tools that we just released alleviate some of the concerns that Councillor Gaertner has expressed?
Ms. House?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Indeed, it's another tool to have the applications online and through the interactive mapping, as well as online applications. All of that is transparent. Along with the region has also launched a number of new tools that track all the building and applications in the entire region. So there's tons of data that's coming out. In working with Ms. Smith is really, how do we get more of that information out and let people know where to find that information? I think is going to be part of our job working together.
Councillor?
Thank you. And I guess social media would be a great start as well. I know that there's so many people that they look to their social media as well as the town websites. The more that we link together with different avenues and different kinds of media, I know that we kind of go already above and beyond with the Ontario Planning Act and what we're supposed to be doing. So I think this is going to give us some added measures. So I do appreciate all the hard work, and that planning tool is fantastic. So I look forward to seeing what Ms. Smith can bring to, I guess, be a little bit more innovative and help give that reach to the community.
Thank you. Anyone else for the first time? Otherwise, I'll go to Councillor Gaertner for a second and a wrap up. Oh, Councillor Gaertner, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And, online tools are excellent, but I do believe that there is a notification process that's required, a written notification to residents within a certain radius. So that's, maybe at some point that will be changed, but that is what the surrounding residents do expect. And I think this will help ensure that they do get those notices. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I call the vote, just to say thank you, Councillor Gaertner, for bringing in, and thank you for making that change as well. I appreciate that. As was already stated, always look at updating our current processes and how we can make them better, more transparent, and make ourselves more accessible to our residents, and make sure that they get all the information that they need so that they stay informed with what's going on. So appreciate this. Looking forward to that report coming back to us. And I'm sure we're going to have a long discussion when that process actually gets in front of us. So I'm looking forward to that. Call the vote. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Record a vote for Councillor Gaertner's motion. Councillor Gaertner, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Councillor Kim?
Yes.
Councillor Humphreys?
Yes.
Mayor Maracus?
Yes.
Councillor Gilliland?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
And Councillor Gallo.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Council, we will add PSAs as requested. And Councillor Gallo, since you requested, go ahead. You go first.
Thank you, and I'll be really quick, but I don't normally do this, but in these crazy times, I thought there's two things that are happening that I thought we should make everyone aware of, and at least be conscious of. We did get an email recently, and it's the 27th of January is International Holocaust Remembrance Day, and I don't know if it's crazy times, or as we read in the email, you know, there's a lot of things that are happening that shouldn't be happening, and I think we should call them out and make sure we're on top of them. So I wanted to acknowledge that the 27th is the day in which Auschwitz camp was liberated in 1945. The second one, January 29th, is the 5th anniversary of the Quebec City shooting and the inaugural National Day of Remembrance for the Quebec City mosque attack and actions against Islamophobia. So you'll see I'm wearing a green square, which is representing National Day for actions against Islamophobia. So the 29th is the anniversary of that shooting. So I just wanted to bring those to everyone's attention and make sure we're all conscious of these things, and we do our best to fight them. That was it.
Thank you, Councillor. Both very important issues that should be brought up and make sure that the awareness is there for everyone to have an understanding of what's going on and have the knowledge and the memory of what's happened and transpired, and make sure that it, as you said, never happens again, and we never forget. So appreciate that. I'll go around the room. Councillor Gaertner, public service announcement.
Following on that, Mr. Mayor, 6,000 Jewish people were murdered in the Holocaust, but many, many more people who, let's say, didn't fit the mold. And in my husband's case, his parents lost all of their families, uncles, aunts, cousins. So I don't know, we're just because we're Jewish, it seems, well, I don't have to say more. And it still is the number one hate crime in York Region and Toronto is against Jewish people. And we discussed that, Mr. Mayor. But, you know, we really need to stand up and fight against anything that that hurts in any way people who are different. And it's hard sometimes, but we just have to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Humphreys. No? Oh, sorry, I didn't see you shake here. So Councillor Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Along the same theme, I'd like to remind everyone that February is Black History Month. We want to make sure that all Aurorans and Canadians acknowledge the contributions that Black Canadians have made in the building up of our country of Canada. So just want to lift that up. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. No, Councillor Gilliland, public service announcement.
Thank you. Yes, I guess I just kind of wanted to also chat about Jan 27th as well, and a few other things. I know, Mr. Mayor, you and Hyde spoke, and I believe you have a proclamation ready, and the flags are going to be lowered to half mast. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That's great. So I just kind of wanted to say thank you so much for that, and I'm really happy to hear that that recognition is there, and yeah, we should remember. And thank you for bringing up Councillor Gallo and Gaertner for mentioning that as well. And the Black History Month. So there's lots moving forward, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of events for us to celebrate, and as we're getting out of this pandemic. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I just have a few before we go into new business, because I was going to say I'm on a new business, but they're not really new business. But the one I'm going to bring up because of the conversation we're having, just to let everyone know, I did attend, and Councillor Gaertner, I'm not sure if I mentioned it to you, but on Friday of last week, I did attend the Ontario Municipal Leaders Summit on Fighting Anti-Semitism. I got to say, it was very powerful, very moving, lots of great discussion amongst municipal leaders and people from the Jewish community as well. And it's something that we're going to continue to have these summits and continue to make sure until we basically it ends. We get rid of it, and we're going to keep fighting. The other one I wanted to bring up is more of a council information, and also for the public. We will be going back to hybrid meetings next month. So starting February 1st, Councillor Thompson will be chairing that GC meeting. We'll fall back into our original rotation at where we left off, with an eye of looking at getting back to full in-person meetings, pre-COVID style, hopefully sooner rather than later. So hybrid meetings starting February. Also, I just wanted to wish congratulations to our neighboring municipality and congratulations to the new mayor, David West. For those of you that don't know Mayor West, I know Councillor Thompson's very familiar with him. He was actually part of our OMB working group last term. We've worked with him many times. He's, just wanted to say congratulations to him, and I'm looking forward to working with him at Regional Council as well. And that's it for my public service announcements. We'll do new business, so we'll go around the opposite way. Councillor Gilliland, new business? No. Councillor Kim? No. Councillor Thompson?
No.
Councillor Humphreys? Councillor Gaertner, new business?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're going to have an update on our lighting bylaw. Does anybody know when that will be coming forward to council?
Ms. Van Leeuwen.
Good evening, and through you, Mr. Mayor, it's our property standards bylaw that will include some provisions regarding lighting, and we plan to bring it forward in Q2 of this year. It's a significant bylaw that requires multiple levels of review from legal. Buildings also will be involved. Our prosecutor needs to review. So it is a complex review process. So we hope to have it forward in Q2 of this year.
Thank you very much, Ms. Van Leeuwen, and also for the correction.
Is that all, Councillor?
One more thing. David Tomlinson spoke to, I don't know who on council, but I was included in the conversation. He would love to see a mural in the wildlife park. I've mentioned it before at council. I believe there's a concrete structure. So what is the best way to go about that?
I would say initially, if you want to have a conversation with maybe Mr. Rose, and we can see how we can bring that forward.
I'm sorry, with who?
Mr. Rose, Phil Rose.
Oh, That's under his jurisdiction? Okay.
Yes. Well, public art, so that would fall under probably under him. So you have a conversation, but if you want, Councillor, maybe you and I can have a conversation and we can look at what would be the best path to start having those conversations.
Thank you, because there would need to be a little bit of a budget in that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gallo, new business? No? Okay, just before I confirm and bylaw, just remind everyone, stick around. We should gotta do closed sessions though. Okay? So don't go anywhere when I call adjournment, please. All right. Confirm and bylaw. Someone like to move the confirm and bylaw? Councillor Gallo, seconded by Councillor Gilliland. Mr. Clerk? Or are we okay with just hands on this one?
To you, Mr. Mayor, I think we're okay with just hands on this one if you are.
All right. All those in favor, confirm the bylaw? Opposed, that carries. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Thompson, Councillor Gilliland, all those in favor? Opposed, that carries. Just want to say, council, every vote tonight was unanimous. Just thought I'd throw that in. All right, so Mr. Clerk, reporting out of closed session.
Mr. Mayor, the motion is that the report be received and that the town solicitor be authorized to settle the appeal by including wording in 2 bylaw 6365-21 that the landscaping requirements set out in bylaw number 6365-21 do not apply to lands subject to existing landscaping requirement under section 24 of comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17.
Thank you. Can I get someone to move that? Moved by Councillor Gilliland, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Any comments at this point? Councillor Gaertner?
Mr. Mayor, could we have some plain speak on that in case any members of the public are still with us?
Well, I think we can just put it up on the screen. I'm not sure how much plain speak you can get out of it. I mean, authorized to settle the appeal by including wording that landscaping requirements set out in bylaw do not apply to lands subject to existing landscaping requirements under section 4. So we can put it on the screen for everyone to see it.
Basically, we had already approved something and we needed to ensure that our current bylaw was adjusted to reflect what we had approved previously. Pretty simple. Well, complicated, but simple.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Call a vote. Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For a vote for the only item of council reporting out of closed session this evening. Councillor Thompson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Kim?
Yes.
Councillor Gilliland?
Yes.
Councillor Gaertner?
Yes.
Mayor Maracus?
Yes.
Councillor Gallo?
Yes.
And Councillor Humphries, who I believe has exited the meeting.
She, I think she left because she wasn't at closed sessions, therefore she left.
Okay, thank you very much. The motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And confirming bylaw. Moved by Councillor Gallo, seconded by Councillor Gilliland. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Thompson, Councillor Kim, all those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Have a great week, everyone. Stay safe. See you next week.
Bye.